Hey, everybody, welcome to my favorite shitty movie. This is a very exciting night for us on my favorite shitty movie because tonight's movie that was brought to us by a returning guest, Steve Skelton, who's a video game producer and a collector of rare VHS antiquities. He's like an Indiana Jones, but for VHS, direct to VHS movies. Um, the movie's called Edge of Honor, and I had not heard of this before. Steve brought it to my attention and Tracy's attention. I think both of us were Edge of Honor virgins when we walked into this, and this comes from sort of a magical time, I think, in movies where the home video market had sort of taken over, and theatrical releases were constantly threatened by, oh my God, people can get this at home within 6 months. Oh my God. Like now it's 2 weeks, but it used to be 6 months. But then, like, you'd go to the video store, right? Or I'll just say I would go to the video store, and I would be going to either like rent something that I missed in the theaters for whatever reason, or I wanted to rent something when it first came out to watch it again after having seen it in the theaters. And you'd go, and on the new release shelf, there would be all these things in addition to the theatrical releases that you were like, what? And Edge of Honor, how I missed it is beyond me, but it definitely would have been one that I would have been like, what? There's a movie with Patrick Swayze's brother and one of the Coreys? How did I miss this in the theaters? It's because it didn't come out in the theaters. It came straight to video, which in that time was cable TV, pay cable TV, and video stores, VHS. It came out on VHS. And the only way you can look at this movie currently, as far as I can tell, is a VHS capture, which is in that glorious 4:3 aspect ratio for a tube TV. Hey, kids, do you know what a tube TV is? Yeah, look it up, Google it. It's interesting. We all lived according to tube TVs in the 80s and 90s and even early aughts. But this movie, like, I watched it and I was so happy to know that it existed and to have experienced it. And I'm here to say Don Swayze fucking kicks ass. That guy is great. But before I go on any further, let me bring on my co-host. She is a font of knowledge about cinema. She's a producer. She's got a movie coming out with Milla Jovovich. I love Milla Jovovich, and I can't wait to see it. Ladies and gentlemen, Tracy Mercer.
Woo! Hey, Todd. Thank you. And don't forget Meredith Salinger. Those of us who grew up with the Journey.
Oh my God, yeah,
It was
Patton
lovely.
Oswalt's
Yes, current
wife.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I too had never heard of this movie. I don't remember seeing the video box. So it was 100% new to me as well. And I think given like the times we find ourselves in, there was something so delicious about the unapologetic nature of like, look, we got a couple bucks. We got some people you recognize, and we're just going to have a lot of fun. And there's a lot of guns, and there's a lot of things that may or may not make sense. But in a weird way, because of where we are now, I just love that this film, like the setup is like, I don't know if we're in Portland, we're in the Pacific Northwest somewhere. I don't know if they ever specify. And they're like, yeah, times are hard, y'all. Jobs are really.
Yeah, that's like the title card at the opening says the Pacific Northwest is
okay.
Haven for crime.
I was like, but like, so we used to be able to fish, but we kind of screwed up that. So like now we just like run military grade weapons, and you're like, sure. And there's just an acceptance before we get into anything. Like that's the setup. You know, unemployment is real, so now we sell military weapons. And I'm like, okay. And it to me, the reason I'm going with Timu Red Dawn Mercer is it felt like, you know, like kind of Red Dawn-esque in that ultimately you have people today who, there's even one guy who's wearing a red hat shooting things he shouldn't. I'm not trying to like, project, but that's there if you want to read into it.
Don't make it political.
No, never do that. He's just the guy who doesn't think, and he wears guns, he shoots guns and wears red hats. But that guy. And then there's basically a troop of Boy Scouts to varying degrees of cuteness. Yeah. So it's like the Boy Scouts versus, the
and the tagline on the VHS cover that I saw is hilarious. It's their motto is to be prepared.
Yes, because they're Boy Scouts.
But they couldn't be prepared for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Which, I mean, they had a pocket knife, and apparently they could lift really heavy tree trunks by themselves, of those poor little children. It's all good. It's all good. Jeff reminds us, appropriately so, Mr. Luce, that they made First Blood with Boy Scouts and a badass girl. So maybe there's a little bit of a wink to that as well. That's a good point.
Yeah, no, and I think, like, given when this came out in 91, which I think Toy Soldiers came out in 1990. Yeah. So this was like Corey Feldman's Toy Soldiers. For me, as a B action picture, you can't have a better concept than Boy Scouts fighting like weapons dealers.
Unemployed fishermen turned weapons arms dealers. That's what it does in world you go.
Well, there was no other way out.
They didn't have Lyft or Uber then, so obviously it was military grade weapon sales.
And the last line in the movie is the John Swayze's brother lamenting, ever since I was born, I just wanted to get out of these goddamn trees. There's too many trees.
Well, then maybe the Pacific Northwest. I mean, I can't help them. You can't help themselves. That's not.
Can you imagine living in the Pacific Northwest and being angry about the trees?
Yeah, I feel like that's an airplane ride down to Palm Springs, but you gotta do what you do. You gotta do what you do.
It is what it is. It doesn't.
I can't wait to bring Skelton up because I have to hear everything. When he saw it, how he first found it. All of it.
All right, here we go. Video game producer and a man who can mine the deepest depths of VHS magic, Steve Skelton.
Hello.
Yeah. Answer all those questions. I don't know if you heard them while you were waiting in the green room.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is one of these movies that honestly I think I saw, but I can't remember if I ever actually saw it, like when it was available on VHS.
Initially, like
I remember it
into
from like
the
the
store.
Blockbuster aisles, and it just very recently kind of just popped up on the internet. At least in wherever I was wasting time traveling around and found it. So that's why I picked it, because then I rewatched it, and it is very, like you were saying earlier, it is so very much like late 80s, early 90s direct to video, no budget kind of lots of, like Jeff mentioned, lots of kind of First Blood ripoff kind of move that maybe I never saw this movie in particular, but I saw like 4 other movies that were exactly the same that maybe
and so like at this point there was, or not too long after this point, like Van Damme was going straight to video.
Yeah.
So there were so many of these action VHS movies, but this one is so interesting to me given its pedigree. I mean, you have the Corey Feldman element is huge.
Well, but this is just a few years after Dream a Little Dream.
Yes,
yeah.
So Meredith Salinger, but also
and Corey.
He's basically like a frog brother again from
Yeah.
Lost Boys, but older. And so and he seems to be weird in every line delivery. And you're like, wow, like he's never not on. Like, I don't know what he's going for, but it's consistent throughout. And it's just like, what is he doing? It's like he's the frog brother, but he's like stoned, you know.
Well, he's
Yeah.
like he's the weird guy. Like, so what's also kind of fun about this movie is, again, like all of these types of super low budget direct to VHS of the time movies, is they didn't spend a lot of time worrying about how much sense they were making. They would just go from scene to scene and stuff would just happen. So the overall arc of the movie is, again, it's the Pacific Northwest. Apparently there's no work, and we can't fish, we can't log, we can't do anything, so we're going to get into illegal arms dealing. And so that's what all the rednecks in the towns are doing. And apparently what they do is they got different like gangs of gun runners who attack each other and steal each other's guns to then sell to a weird British guy later. But so the beginning of the movie has this big shootout and slaughter where Don Swayze and Ken Jenkins, their gang there.
I love that, like this shot of these four guys. The guy on the left like comes in at the very end, just like puts himself into frame, and it's hysterically funny.
He's
hilarious,
like channeling early Simon Pegg. Like it's a weird. Because you're right. It's like there's like this 3-shot with a really bad frame, and then he's like, boom. And then and so that it's all pressed out. But it's funny because I was like, who is the DP on this? And to be fair, we're watching a rip of a VHS from 91. So no one should be judging too hard because that's not fair to do to a cinematographer. However, I was like, out of curiosity, who did this? So it's Billy Dixon, who actually got nominated for 2 Emmys for cinematography for doing like One Tree Hill and Ally McBeal. So he goes from this, kind of Little Red Dawn-esque thing to like Ally McBeal and the Dancing Baby, and I thought, wow, that's an interesting career. If I were working on Ally McBeal, I would have loved to have known about this movie and be like, dude, tell me about Edge of Honor. Let's start with what the hell the title means.
Right. It's just a random title. It has nothing. There's nothing remotely in the story of the movie that makes sense with the title. It's just like, we need a title. We gotta get this thing to Blockbuster.
In the rip that Skelton got for me that I watched, the title is Slayer.
Oh yeah. There's like different versions. So
and
that
I was
might have been like
what? And I looked
the Canadian
it up on
release, or
I looked it up on IMDb to see if like what the alternate titles were for this movie, and 0 of them are Slayer, even though that's what we see as the title.
That had to be like some kind of weird, like, very specific European region release.
Well, and the one that you had was like defaulted to Russian.
Yeah, it was like language. The first audio track was Russian. Yeah.
So Edge of Honor is not something Russians understand, but they understand Slayer. Like that made sense to them.
Which also is a title that doesn't make any sense in the context.
No, it doesn't.
Not at all. No, it's like a music video. Oh, that's the band's name. Yeah, Slayer.
Yeah.
But it's weird because Todd had sent me the link and I got it on my phone. I thought, I don't want to watch this on my phone. So I thought I'll just check to see if I could find it on YouTube. And it is
on YouTube, yeah.
And so, but the version I saw had like this burned in red like logo in the upper right hand side, and then it defaulted. I thought it was like Korean or something crazy. And like I was like, what? But it made no sense. And it was like half the time people would talk and there was no subtitles, and then no one would be saying anything, and there were all these lines of subtitles. I'm like, this is fantastic. Like whoever put this up is like my new favorite person. And but it somehow added to the charm, because you're feeling like, I love the way that Todd described you as, you're like the Indiana Jones, you have the artifacts of the VHS era. And I felt like, oh my God, someone else who uploaded that absolutely has the same kind of love. And there was something so charming about just watching.
I assume Skelton went on a death-defying adventure to find this. Like it was
Thank
Like
you, Jeff.
he had there was like a Betamax tape and he had a VHS and he had to switch them out, and then it sunk into and there were booby traps.
Oh
Not
my
easy to find this thing.
And then a giant laser disc chased me out of the.
Well, it's also because
Rolling.
this week I've been, finalizing kind of post on the movie that Todd mentioned called World Breaker, and so we can get it ready to show to distributors and hopefully get a North American distributor to pick us up. But so my head is very much in credits and how do we open films and looking at sound details. And so the first frame of this film, after you get through when you can't fish, then you become an arms dealer. That's the setup. Just this picture. Wind River Productions, and it's like a tree, presents a film by Merit Badge Productions. Get it? They're scouts and the Guerrilla Film Unit Incorporated.
And that's the unit that got all that illegal B-roll that is like jammed out throughout every other scene in the movie.
So charmed by that. I was like, oh, they know what they're doing. They're just announcing it. I got all love for that. It's like,
I remember like back in this era, I went into a video store and there was a poster on the wall, and the poster like had all these names in all bold letters. It was like Swayze, Stallone, Norris, and all in a movie together. And I was like, but if you look closely, above the names were Don Swayze, Aaron Norris, and I was like, that was a thing back then, like where you could just market a last name. Doesn't matter if it's not the actual guy, it's enough that you have the last name. And to see Don Swayze in this like really made me feel for Don Swayze, because I think that like he looks so much like his brother, it's ridiculous.
So much like his brother.
And to say he's a lesser actor is not, it would suggest that you don't understand how acting works. He's exactly like his brother, 100%. And
he's really good in Edge of Honor. He's as kind of the recurring menacing redneck bad guy.
And he
always chasing the kids.
There's these unnecessary moments that he has where, like, when he shoots a bunch, when he murders like a shitload of children.
Oh my God!
He stands over and he's like, oh.
I mean, that's part of what makes this movie a lot of fun for me anyway, is that it's for the most part trying to be like 80% of the time it's essentially a PG, almost getting close to Goonies-esque kids versus bad guys, and then a scene will just turn and it'll have like the most like what I assume the most unsafe squibs I've ever seen in film, because they explode with such force and bloodiness, and it feels like it's like, okay, whoever loaded those wasn't trained. And it's excessively violent, and to the point where it's like, they like murder a whole scout troop.
They kill, and the scoutmasters, all the dads and all the kids get fucking slaughtered.
Yeah. But that's why it's so funny though, because you're just like, there's this weird funny is the wrong word, but forgive. But of its time, because I feel like now there's this rule where you can never kill children. And there's no threat, and everything's PG-13, or it's a false attack. But that's also, if you go back to the classic Jaws, right? It's like, of course the naked girl would still be eaten, but Alex Kittner would lose a leg, the dog would probably be okay, But like that movie, you're like, no one is safe. We're killing dogs and small children. Oh God! And here you wipe out, as you say, a scout troop as an aside. So we can get back to, the rednecks. They're like, man, we just wanted to fish, but you took that away from us. Now it's arms,
I agree. And I just want to shout out again to Don Swayze, because he takes that like another actor would have just been cold, would have just been the character Blade in this movie. That's
that's
right.
a whole other thing we need to get to.
Right. But he
is
wouldn't
that character.
like Don Swayze puts humanity into his horrifying actions by like weird facial expressions where he's like,
Well, it's also
I'm sad I killed those kids, but I don't know what else I'm gonna do.
But he and Ken Jenkins have a good back and forth in this movie, as you know, with Jenkins being the the head redneck bad guy. And I guess, are they brothers? I can't remember.
Yes, they're brothers.
brothers.
But and so they have this kind of more familiar back and forth when things keep going wrong, and he's getting tired of like, I think I've shot enough kids. Can we stop shooting kids? I gotta shoot more kids. All right, I guess I gotta shoot some more kids.
Yeah, he has to do it.
There's also like really kind of potentially, again, this goes to the dare we say tonal shift between like killing off the Boy Scouts, and then we have the Goonies that are kind of on the run. But then you also have like terrifying sequences where you have a wife and her young daughter, is Meredith Salinger, and her husband who gets shot in the most awkward, like he literally falls over this barbed wire, like his
leg gets stuck on a fence.
And what I don't understand about the sequence is he trips over the barbed wire. I get that, and the barbs would get into your clothes. Absolutely makes sense. But the barbed wire somehow wraps itself in a perfect loop around his ankle.
But it's like when you go back after he's shot, it's like he's propping his foot up. I mean, it doesn't. Again, there's not a lot of attention to detail with some of these things, but also this goes back to the opening shootout, where in terms of like how they're laying people out, this is so clearly posed.
Well, the guy in the boat looks totally natural.
Yeah, I mean, but they're like, okay, everyone, as opposed to like a natural fall, or because
when you're
like,
low
okay,
budge,
now let's do a fun one, everybody.
When you're low budge, so much of your gore happens after the fact. It doesn't happen during. Like we're spoiled at this point because we've had all these Final Destination movies and whatnot where we see the shit happen. But back then, it would be just a shot of a guy, which this was, like a bunch of guys shooting guns and other guys going, "Wah!" And then you actually see the gore afterwards when they're dead. So they
do slow motion. Like they're still working in that trope. It's hard to believe, but like when you saw something like what Peckinpah does in the climax, right, of something like The Wild Bunch, like it was this operatic, highly stylized, slow motion battalion of death, Gatling guns wiping out our men. The whole. It's like, I mean, it is like brilliant. This is the dollar version of that, but like 25 years later,
and it's very clearly like, okay, we've only got 25 squibs for the whole show.
Right.
So we got to make sure they all count, and then after they go off, we still have to take a couple shots. So don't change or anything.
Yeah,
just stay still, and then we'll get some more shots. And we also only have 100 blanks for the whole show too. So everybody, when you're shooting, make sure you all take turns.
Yes,
and just shoot one bullet at a time, but never more than one bullet every 3 seconds. That because there's all these when they finally get to the it's a simple plot. Bad guys are running guns. The kids find the guns. The bad guys chase the kids to get their guns back, and then the kids foil the bad guys. That's that's the whole thing in a nutshell. But so there's multiple sequences in this movie where the bad guys are chasing the kids through the woods, and the way it's always shot is hilarious because there's always these shots of the kids running, like sprinting, terrified. And then it will cut to the bad guys who are just kind of like Hollywooding it through the woods. Like they're moving super slow and just going bang, bang,
no worries,
bang.
Yeah.
And never hitting anybody. I mean, well, they shoot one of the kids in the leg once.
Well, because they're fishermen by trade, I think. That's the
So, but it's like it's also called, like, we don't have a lot of squibs, we don't have a lot of blanks. So we have to be very deliberate about when we use these things.
And let's talk about this guy.
So this is like
Blade.
This is where Blade. This is where it gets complicated because for some reason the rednecks who are running guns are selling guns to this British guy who's not Blade. Blade's his employee. And something goes wrong because they can't find their guns because the kids took them. And so the British guy sends Blade in, who is from a different fucking movie.
Totally.
He's like this dime store Neo. He's all black trench coat, black glasses at night. He's got a switchblade under his arm that he chokes people with and stabs them in the necks with because that's his signature move. And then he quotes Shakespeare because he's a British actor.
It's hilarious too that like he's always doing that. He's like, I'll put down my gun.
And then slowly walk towards you. Yeah.
And then also that he does this, so you don't actually have to do the makeup, and then just throws him in the dark water so you can't really see it, but you imply in one setup stuff that he has a knife. Yeah.
Right. But his whole demeanor and his costuming and everything about him is just like, oh shit, we accidentally shot a character who was supposed to be shooting at this other location across the street from us.
Yeah.
We'll leave him in. We don't have enough film to reshoot this. But yeah, he's so out of context and out of place. Like he's in his like club wear wandering around the woods with these rednecks, in the climax of the movie. And what's also like a hallmark of this type of like super low budget direct-to-video movie is there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why his character needed to be in the movie at all. There was no reason for him to exist. You just needed the guy who was buying the guns to say, you better get those kids or I'm going to send people after you. That's all you needed. You didn't need
he's the heavy
French coat.
He's the heavy. He's the Famke Jamke in Goldeneye. He's the guy who kills people, and it's enough to know that he's out there connected to the bad guy, I think.
Except that he's just always around being weird and out of place.
You mean from these guys? They don't blend?
It's just like, I mean, he's like he's the cinematic equivalent of being photoshopped into a movie.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like, why is he even in this movie? It makes no sense.
Yeah. But it's also the other thing that doesn't make sense is like, so you've got the scouts fighting around. You've got varying degrees of rednecks who get dispatched and drop guns so that our scouts can pick them up as they go. Yep. And then all of a sudden there's this shot where they come to the road and they go, oh my God, we're saved. I'm like, why would you assume you're saved in the middle of nowhere just because there's an empty road? And then, of course, also completely not figured out is I guess the local cops are in on the military grade arms sales from fisherman problem.
Yeah, because I think the main sheriff was part of the posse at the beginning of the movie, but he wasn't in his sheriff's outfit. So, so I think that implied that the cops are in on it. But then this is also great too, because the beginning of the movie, Meredith Salinger's family is gunned down by Don Swayze, and then somehow he can't find her in a closet. So he walks away.
Yeah.
He's M. Night Shyamalan Aliens.
Yeah, and then she disappears from the movie for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
But like, she's
just gone.
Saving them. Inexplicably, she has no connection with them, but she sees this guy's pretty cute. So she just basically has like an Uzi somewhere because I guess arms dealers, because fishing, I don't know. And so then she takes out like the bad cops and luckily misses the scouts. And then they come back to her house, right?
Yeah, I think we're just assuming that all of those cops are in on it. So all these extrajudicial killings are cool. But like we only know for sure, I think that the sheriff is in on it, but the other deputies just might be like, "Oh yeah, we're doing a blockade because the sheriff said so." Oh no, Meredith Salinger just beat me down.
Well, it's also funny because, like, again, this goes to the tonal shift where it's like she did lose her entire family, and then in this scene, she's like, "You guys, I had to take the corpses of my parents, and I had to take the house." I'm like, "Well, actually, your dad was already at a house, but that's fine." And then I had to bury him deep, and I was like, but it was like this whole monologue where she's like in tears and she's working it up, and you're like, "This is not the film, man. This is not." It's so delightful though, because she's really trying to give a performance.
It's also a monologue where she has to say the word dirt, I think, like 40 times in
yeah.
the monologue, which is rough.
I love Salinger, and I'm 100% behind her career, but I did wonder what she did between the journey of Natty Gann and Lake Placid, and this
She went to college.
answered.
She went to college and got educated, and then came back later.
And then did this. She did this after college or during college or whatever.
This was, I think, before, but then she came back. She took some times out. But Jeff Luce, this is a great line. Blade exists in this movie to say the Girl Scouts are loose and they want our cookies, which is a really good example of the dialogue. So we go once again. This guy who is only lit once, where you can actually see, I think, was supposed to be a pretty gnarly scar.
Oh yeah, he's got a scar because that means he's really evil.
He's evil, and of course, Don doing his best, to react.
Well, his reaction there is like, "Why are you in this movie?" Totally, you're way off.
And then to your point, right, Skeleton? It's like kids running. We're running in different places. Now we're here, and the house has exploded, but he's got one of the kids, and and then we have like the Rambo sequence, right, where we're putting I guess we know who they are. Like it doesn't matter if you don't have to go Rambo. You're a scout. Like they
don't just go Rambo in the climax of the movie. They go like Ewok level forest traps. Somehow, somehow they've overnight they've hoisted like half-ton redwood logs on
they're like, run indoor.
And that's like Corey Feldman's whole job in this movie is cutting ropes.
Yeah,
that send the traps. And there's that one trap with Blade. I feel like it was Blade who's like, huh? And he's waiting, and he's like, huh? What's that noise? Yeah. And it's just like 4 pencils going through weeds.
Oh yeah.
And he's like,
and he gets impaled by the predator trap.
Yeah. But Todd's right. I mean, it's literally like, can you just hold on to this? And he's like,
and also it's so like, stupid. Was I watching it wrong, or when they drive their caravan? Are they using like an old ice cream truck to hunt down these kids?
It looked like it.
It does look like like someone, and there's a shot in the background where someone has a blowtorch, like they're trying to put reinforcements on something. I'm like, you're going after Boy Scouts. Like, what are you doing? Like, they have like little 22 rifles, and you're like, let's armor this truck. And I'm like,
it wasn't enough. I mean, they had those giant logs.
It wasn't enough.
Also, just the dynamics again of like these things the boys could not possibly have cut, much less lifted, much less put that way. That crushing. The bad guy's truck that just line up like this. Like I thought that took some effort, like there was some ingenuity here, and they had gloves and makeup,
Yeah, but it's very much the Ewoks Return of the Jedi thing.
Dude, they're like on Endor.
But at least the Ewoks make more sense because there were a lot more Ewoks.
That's true.
So, and also it was just 2 logs that smashed a thing.
Yeah. Well, and they had the big pile of logs.
Like they went this way. The Ewoks went this way with the logs versus this way with the logs. And it just doesn't it doesn't make tremendous sense.
Yeah, it's fun, but then you get your the real bad guy, right? Good old Natty Gann gets to Hellcat
executes Swayze.
And that's again the makeup work on this kind of chef's kiss, right? It's like, oh, okay, let's make sure we have a straight line drizzling, not a lot, it's just a head wound.
I also miss that. I miss that in movies when people get shot directly in the forehead and then they have multiple moments before they collapse.
Yeah.
Like I miss that. Like shoot people through the head and have them do some weird stuff before they go down.
Like Michael Biehn in Tombstone.
Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
But
my God.
It is fun because I guess there is ingenuity involved with their plan, and then this is the aforementioned.
And then he's just, I hate trees. I hate these trees. Which is
move.
did he talk much about trees up to this
Never.
point? I can't
No,
even
there's
remember.
no mention of trees
Like he
until the
suddenly
very end
is
when he's
like, my
angry at the
plans have
tree.
been ruined because of these trees.
Trees. And
I
he's like,
wanted to get out of the trees.
he goes, I just want to go to Hawaii and I just want to go to Mexico. And I just want, and you're like, where is this coming from? This was not set up. This is
He's letting a lot of emotions out.
yeah.
Finally, he's becoming vulnerable. Maybe he'll stop yelling at his wife to get him the Tums after he eats all those ribs.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. I have that very scene
Ooh.
that you're referencing where he gets angry at his wife for trying to clear his plate, and he wants Tums.
Before you roll this clip, because people may not have seen this film, one of my favorite or parts of this scene that I think we have a reenactment for is the way it's shot. You don't know that the wife is there until there's a long shot. So she appears out of nowhere in a shot not seen since your Bad Student films, but this isn't a release. And you're like, oh my God, where it's like the two of them are eating ribs and she's off camera and you don't see her until you have one wide and then we come back in. I'm like, who's that? I have no idea.
As an actor, like she turns up in a couple scenes after this, but this is her introduction. But like as an actor, of all the performances in the movie, I thought this woman did the most with nothing. She's really fucking funny in this movie if you're paying attention. All right, here it is.
Yeah, this is Richie. Who is it? No, stay there. I'll drive out.
So?
Nothing. I'll take care of it.
Don't jerk me around. What was it?
We found Lester. He's dead. Got a big messy hole in the middle of his chest.
God damn it! You're letting a bunch of kids kick our asses. You want to tell that to Mr. Swede and that fucking goon of his? That we let a bunch of candy-ass Boy Scouts take that shipment that we can't deliver? Marie, get the hell out of here! And bring me some Alka-Seltzer.
I think your coverage was actually better than theirs.
I know. I was like, not too well directed. I don't.
Yeah, I realized I worked the 180-degree rule too well. But I realized that after the fact. I was trying to do it wrong.
By the way, Colby, lovely coming in.
Yeah, he's home for spring break, so we I forced him to do it. He was like,
as long as you're living under my roof,
my
house, my rules.
But that is literally what she does in the movie.
Yeah,
you see her in the background just leaning her head against a wall.
It makes no sense.
Completely given up.
Which again, I think the only woman you see in this whole movie is literally Meredith Salinger, and then that broad who's not really established. And you're like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
What am I watching?
But it's like, talk about walking away with every scene you're in. Like, she has nothing to do. She's underwritten, and she's just a thankless lady, classic thankless lady role. Yeah. And she does everything she can with it. She's so depressed.
I wish it was someone who went on to have like this massive career. Like, this is the part where like, was that Laura Linney? Like, that would be like the greatest origin story ever. It's like, discovered from her triumph off Broadway, and then like,
this woman should have, for this performance alone. Like, if people paid attention, I know that executives and producers and everybody, they don't really pay attention to the bit players, but like this performance in this movie, she should have been a star afterwards because it's hilarious. She does so much with nothing. Yeah. Every time she was on the screen, I was like, oh, what's she gonna do?
I kind of want to see maybe a version like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead this movie, so it's just from her perspective.
Yes, she's still alive. Like, she could have totally spun this off. You know, she should be like Jessica Alba's mom, and then she shows up in like the daughter of, and then it goes on. You know, it could be like. Yeah.
I agree. I think this woman should be a star. Why? Tracy, you're a producer.
Yeah.
Make her a star. Make her a star.
That is first in my agenda after I get out of deferment.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I also appreciate not just because you're an actor, but you're right, and it's one of those things that I've been lucky. I've worked on a few movies where in the background there will be someone doing something, and you pick them up. And we had one of the films I did with Diane Keaton called Five Flights Up, and it's kind of a plot: older couple, will they or won't they sell their apartment? And so there's like kind of a open house. And it's a who's who of the best of New York actors who are available that week that we have coming in. And everybody in that scene, because they're like, we're in a scene with Diane Keaton. So they're like, the New York actors are bringing, and I'm like, there is so much talent in Deep Focus and not, because they're all like, you know, walking around Keaton. And I'm like, this is a who's who. I mean, it was just like, but again, that's the thing. It's the cliche, right? There are no small actors or no small parts, only small actors. And it's like, you can actually take things. And I feel like when, like, look, who was I talking? It wasn't you, Todd. It was somebody, and recently, and we were talking about All About Eve. And famously, Marilyn Monroe steals every scene she's in. She's got like 2 or 3 scenes, right? It's like, oh, Miss Coswell is a graduate of the Copacabana School of Dramatic Arts, right? Addison DeWitt tells us. But every time Marilyn is on, it's not just that she's preternaturally gorgeous and should be on the big screen, but when you're stealing scenes with Bette Davis, who might have created the words bits of business and you know, but Marilyn is like, how can producers always look like scared little bunny rabbits? He's like, go get him. You know, like she's at that party scene and you can't, you know, like that is a star and you can see it, but she really has like one line of dialogue and does this and walks out of frame. But you think of her being a bigger part of that film. By contrast, there are other actresses I don't want to name check right now who maybe played DAs in like maybe the first Chris Nolan Batman film. And you're like, you're not old enough to write the Pelican Brief. You're not a DA. So like, you don't remember anything. And she's very pretty.
Yeah.
But you look at those stars and you're like, oh my God, even when there's like a little role, you know, like there's actually a very famous scene. I think it's beautifully written. It's David Mamet before he went completely lunatic. But in The Verdict, 1982's The Verdict, Newman is the great drunk Frank Galvin, DA. He's giving, you know, his final summation, trying to get the jury to say, look, these guys killed this woman. You know, you have to rule for this family. And he's like, this is a fervent prayer. And it's like, it's a high art writing. And as he's giving this speech, there's one very noticeable extra behind Paul Newman, and it's Bruce Willis. And Bruce is like just in there, and you're paying attention to Bruce, not because we recognize him, but even in 82, when you're like, I don't know who that guy is not a line, but he's like the guy right there. And you're like, wow, that's such a generational beginning of Bruce. But then also,
I mean, when you saw The Verdict, did you see it in the theaters when you were a kid?
No, I was sadly not old enough to see it, but I saw it pretty quickly.
I just wonder, like, how much of that is retrospective? Like, do you really notice big players before they're famous?
I remembered him because when he got Moonlighting, they were talking about how he was auditioning and he was auditioning for Desperately Seeking Susan, didn't get it, was kind of dressed like a punk, walked in the first audition for Addison, and they showed his picture, and I was like, I recognized him. Because I watched The Verdict a lot. That was one of my favorite movies, like when we got it on video.
But when you first watched The Verdict, you noticed him without knowing.
He wasn't anybody when I first watched The Verdict, but I recognized.
I just feel like my whole career as a bit player, and it doesn't, like, I've not resonated with anyone.
I don't think that is true. Yeah,
I just want to know because I'm not
watching. I go, I don't know about that guy.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair or true, but it is interesting. But again, one of the things, I mean, just I guess to wrap it up because this is a really slight, you know, plot that we went through. But I love that you brought this to our attention, Skeleton, because it is fun to see people we grew up with, you know, at a certain time in their career. I think Todd set it up beautifully with like, God, there really was a moment. I mean, as we are struggling to get any films made now. I turned my film into a foreign film to get it made because there was a pipeline for people to learn and work and get paid to work and tell stories that they knew what they were doing. But there are moments in this film that where people step up and hey, I'm going to try this. I'm going to MacGyver this third act. Watch what they do.
I'm going to do this thing.
I like that.
Well, it's people being artistic. However, the venue, and I think that's huge. And I'm thinking about what's the name of that movie, Skelton, we were talking about last night, that's on Netflix, I think. That's the brothers. The brothers made it. Who made?
Oh, you mean Electric State?
Yeah, that thing. So
Yeah, that thing.
it's like that's what we're getting in straight to video content these days, and it costs $250
Yeah, I
million
mean,
dollars.
I think it's because it's like, I mean, and maybe this is just a perception thing, but it feels like, the late 80s, early 90s direct to video world, movies got made for, low to no budgets, but they were just basically like this with not a lot of studio worry about how it turned out, right? They just kind of let them go and do their thing. So you would get, an Edge of Honor, or you get like, hey, we got Mark Hamill and this thing called Slipstream. What's it about? It's a science fiction thing where they're on gliders or something. I don't know. All right. As long as it's under 10 million, fine. Right.
I love that.
I love Slipstream. That's a good movie.
But we can, it's tough. It would just be like, okay, as long as you're under the budget, you can do whatever you want. Whereas now you have to be under the budget and you have to meet all of the points that the algorithm has said it needs to meet in order to fit into our, streaming catalog. I guess, and then it's bland. It becomes bland.
You're often
I agree. And my biggest
producers who all think they have a point of view because they wrote you a check for $25,000 a piece, and you're like, you know what? You understood the assignment. This is a tax write-off or a scam for you, and you're not going to tell our director who's made films before what to do. I appreciate that I don't know. Let's just say hypothetically, commercial real estate business isn't doing so well post-COVID, so you're hiding your money in my film, but you're not really depositing. That's a hypothetical. But like that situation, it's like you don't get to talk about like these things. And again, I'm not saying that this film is one, we're going to study for the age, but they understood the assignment. They clearly had a lot of fun doing it. People are showing up and giving good performances. There's some fun set pieces. They do what they can. And that's all one should expect from a film called Edge of Honor.
Well, but also
time period, it does better than it should. And then that's okay,
I watched Edge of Honor. Yeah. And you can't say by any means it's a great movie. It's a fun, super low budget, silly kids versus bad guys movie. But I watched the whole thing. I turned off Electric State after an hour because I just was so bored with it.
I guess that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't understand why Netflix
and I wanted to watch that. I explicitly went, oh
yeah.
I was like, okay, Gray Man, let's see if they they tend to work better with maybe more cartoony comic booky stuff. So let's see if this is better. And it wasn't.
No, and then there's the Rebel Moon, like all the Zack Snyder stuff.
I couldn't get through that either.
He hurts me. Like the amount of money he's been given, it comes out of that. I'm like, the Russo brothers. I mean, again, I don't want to be controversial, but they may or may not be the best directors of their generation, but they've been given $500 million to make 2 films that I have questions about. That's a lot of money. And they are given $500 million to do Netflix films, which means if the algorithm, enough of you guys tune in and you watch more than 51% of those 2 films, they're fine and they keep getting to do it. Whereas they don't have to worry about box office. Whereas I'm going to shamelessly plug my very good film my company's doing called Audrey's Children. It comes out this Friday. If you can't go, we're only in 300 theaters. Buy a ticket anyway. Go online and just buy a ticket for us. We really need to fill it up. It's a remarkable true story about this woman who actually will make you feel good about life. It is very empowering. And Audrey Evans, when we talk about cancer stage 1, 2, 3, 4, she's the British scientist in the 60s fighting the male-dominated medical industry in America. And she's the one that gave us the staging system and was a badass. She formed the Ronald McDonald House because she said no parent should have to sleep in a hallway or not come because they can't afford the hotels at Chalk. So she forms this house. So basically families can be there because her whole ethos was, it's not about a sick child, it's a sick family. and we work on this as a family, and we work at this. And so in a time where I think medicine and science might be under attack by some, this is a woman who fought sexism in 1968 in a much harder time perhaps, or at least we're going back to it. And it's really like Norma Ray great. And we are self-distributing it because we couldn't get anyone to take a chance on us because period piece, and it's Natalie Dormer, from Game of Thrones fame.
Yeah.
She should be up for every award this year. This is one of those Oscar kind of things. It would have been 10 years ago would be a no-brainer, right? But now I'm like, I really hope we just have to have people come in that first weekend. And it's a gamble because, we thought, well, we want people to see it. So we're working with strategic partners like the Ronald McDonald House, and tying into our science communities. But it's a tough time for these kinds of dramas. But this shouldn't have been hard to make, but we had to do that independently too. And so I just feel like there are people making good films out there. Amy Kanan Mann is directing, not the singer, but she's actually Michael Mann's amazing daughter. The directing gene did not fall far from that tree. And she makes us look like a huge studio film, and we're not, but we really need support. So Audrey's Children on that level. But when you talk about performances, and Todd, you'll see this in the movie, like this is another one where everyone in Philly came out to play, and you're going to see faces that you recognize, and everybody's doing A-list work because they know that this is kind of one of the, it's like a unicorn right now to be able to make this kind of film.
Yeah. 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 And in a weird way, I mean, like, I feel like in the 90s, early 90s, certainly the movie that you're making would have been a video market movie. It
would have been probably like an HBO channel produced.
Something 90s. Like that.
Or if we had a slightly bigger star back when we thought we had real stars.
I just missed that. There's a disparity between video market movies because theatrical is such a Wild West horror show at this point.
Yes,
but I just miss mid-budget movies. I miss that. Like a movie that costs, and people throw these numbers around like it doesn't matter. But like a $30 million movie is a low-budget movie now, right? And it
like a no land, almost everyone that. Yeah.
But like in the market now, like if you get a low budget movie that comes straight to streaming, it's shoestring budget or no budget at best.
Yeah.
And we don't get enough of Edge of Honors, just in general. Except movie. In like only in the horror genre can I think that these kind of mid-budget movies exist. And it's a bummer because...
And Jeff, thank you for looking this up. He points out Audrey's Children is showing at 2 of the Regal theaters here in Buffalo and only once per day in the morning. And we were lucky to get those because we don't have a studio. So we had to self-distribute, which is why we have the worst possible time, which is, again, what we are lucky to be in theaters. But you can see that we're up against it.
If you had simply put Jesus into your movie.
Oh, he's that socialist guy who wants healthcare for everyone.
Right? Yeah. But if he's portrayed by a white guy like Jim Caviezel, then you'll be.
I'm pretty sure Jesus has blonde hair. I mean, Jeffrey Hunter, I think, really nailed his take on him, particularly.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who can play Christopher Pike in the real Star Trek pilot, The Cage, and also Jesus, come on.
Yeah.
Caviezel's never been on Star Trek.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what Jesus looked like, Jeff.
Caviezel is the worst. He is the worst possible white man actor I can think of.
Oh, and James Woods.
No. James Woods has no foothold on anything anymore. He's just a footnote who complains about his house burning down when it has not burned down.
Oscar winner Oppenheimer.
But Caviezel's worse currently. I would say.
I got no argument. I don't like Viz. I don't get it. Like, here's the thing. Like Passion of the Christ. Like and again, this is like I don't want to get us totally off track, but Mel Gibson actually, for all of his sins, and there are so many, he's a really good filmmaker. But for me, the craziness of Passion of the Christ is I don't need Mel Gibson to tell me that like crucifixion was violent because like hashtag I get it. But you forgot to mention anything Jesus said, which seems to me that's probably the reason. But I felt like the hook scenes, I was like, he's kind of doing Hellraiser. I'm just like,
it's like a saw trap.
It's like Saw meets Hellraiser, but with Jesus. And
you're right.
But then all the great fundamentalist folks who supported that and it helped make it like $500 million, they want to rail on us folks who love our horror films. And I'm thinking, did you see that Mel Gibson made a horror film that y'all paid?
It's the original torture porn.
Yeah, original torture porn, and he didn't find time for any of Christ's teachings. He just went into the hooks in the flesh. I just feel kind of like I get it, whatever, faith is what it is, but like, just don't be hypocritical. Don't be coming down on our horror films when you support a really grisly horror film that Mel Gibson directed. That's all I'm saying. Fight me, but fair. I think it's fair.
Well, there's that Democrat lady who referred to the. What's his name? Greg Abbott from Texas.
Oh yeah.
Hot Wheels. She called him Hot Wheels.
Oh, and
everybody's mad about it because, he got crushed by a tree or some fucking thing when he was young and is in a wheelchair. And that's horrible. But also Donald Trump did this.
Also, Greg Abbott is trying to take away ADA ramps, which he himself uses because
so none of it. None of it.
That guy, right?
It doesn't crack. The Nazi shit does not track.
Well, no one ever accused Nazis of being particularly intelligent, clearly.
Well, some of them really are, and that's the problem.
Or we're just too dumb as a populace.
We are dumb. We're dumb.
And welcome to the Happy Podcast, my favorite.
Skelton, final thought. Let's do final thoughts about Edge of Honor because I want to hear him.
Make a pitch.
Skelton, what's your final thoughts about this movie?
Why should people see it, Skelton?
I think if you like Scrubs, you're gonna love Edge of Honor. No, but I think it's free on YouTube. There's a good reason.
Okay.
In multiple languages, like Russian, Vietnamese.
It's better than
hour and 23 minutes.
Yeah, it's short. It's better than the Electric State, at least the first 48 minutes of Electric State. It's more entertaining because it's out there. It's just like it's not worried about making too much sense. It's more worried about just chasing kids around and putting them in grave danger, like Steven Spielberg likes to do. But more violent than Spielberg typically does. So that's fun. And it's just got weird bad guys that don't make any sense. And a bunch of slow moving rednecks shooting guns.
Yes.
And a ton of B-roll, like a ton of B-roll for transitioning between scenes because they didn't get enough establishing coverage.
And I also wanted to say, I can't hit it hard enough again, that this might have been made in 1991, but when you see dumb rednecks trying to mow down children and they look like this in close up, you can draw your own modern conclusions. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. I love it. I love this movie. Having only just seen it a couple days ago for the first time, but I love it because it is indicative of a cinematic culture that existed in the 90s. It really was. It's late 80s too, but the 90s, this straight to VHS movie thing, like that, there was a market for. Like you could make them, you could invest lots of money into a low budget movie and you would see a return. I don't know if this
you could afford this.
I don't know if the investors of Edge of Honor actually saw a return, but there were a lot of movies in this era.
No, I'm assuming all this financing was done to hide money.
Yeah, it's probably a mafia movie.
But
Yeah.
also, you used to be able to, like in other countries, you could sell this and pick it up here and there because it would have been like from the Star of Goonies, from Natty Gann, blah, blah, blah. And then, you had really rich hospitality deals, airplane deals, straight to
Yep.
video. You would have had, 2 or 3 different, back in the day, we had On, Select, Spotlight, Showtime, HBO, if you lived in LA, Z Channel. So multiple folks like that would license this. So you really could make money back then on this. And that's why there was such a pass through. And I think when we closed up the video markets, or the video stores rather, I think streaming is trying to put this in. But streaming, again, there's the Russo brothers streaming at 250 million for Netflix, and then there's the Shutters. Here's 1.5 for our upscale movie.
Yeah.
And so Shutter Films, to me, which is they're not all Citizen Kane, but occasionally you find a winner in there. But you also have young directors, I think, perhaps finding their way, but at least they get 1.5 in distribution through Shutter. And so, that's a good thing. I mean, I think if people look at the Jen Wexler films, look at the Jennifer Reeder films, like these ladies are really good with horror. And it's my hope that I'm trying to help find better scripts for them to level up in terms of budget, better scripts to get bigger budget, because they got this down, but they deserve way more money than they're being given. But they're such good directors. They take what little they have, like if you haven't seen Knives and Skin, like check that out. That'll blow up your brain. I mean, Wexler is a real interesting director to watch, but I have a feeling if she were working in the 90s like this, she would have done a slate of these. Somebody like, in an executive suite would have been like, holy crap, Knives and Skin. And then we would have given her a studio film. And I think that path is a little harder right now because we're still trying to figure out what theatrical means, and we're trying to get people out to the theaters. So,
and like Todd said, there's no mid-budget really anymore. So you go from like $1 million picture to a $200 million picture.
Right.
And there's nowhere, there's no in between.
Those stories should be in this zone, but as somebody who's tried to sell things, they either want you to be kind of like under 12 or over 80. This becomes, we don't know what to do if we're a studio, because the thought process, whether it's right or wrong, I'm not, is I have to market, I have to spend so much to spend to market this $30-50 million movie. How am I ever going to see a return if it's 3-to-1 ratio? Right? If my budget's 30, I have to make 90 before I break
even. I get that, like,
model doesn't work anymore.
Right, but I'm also like on board with anyone who criticizes marketing firms for not being able to market something.
Well, that's a whole conversation I would love to have, because that's true too. When you have a good movie and you can't sell it, like that's
on you. You're like, it doesn't matter if what I give you is a piece of shit. Your whole reason for existence is to sell that piece of shit. Yeah. So if you can't do it, like the idea that we've reverted to, we don't, like, marketing people don't know how to market this, is just giving them an out. They're garbage. They can't do their job. Fire them. Find somebody who can market shit.
That's part of the insidiousness, I would argue, of the obsession with IP, because the perception of, well, we know how to market this because it's worked in a different incarnation. So just do that again. It's like, actually, you know what? I'm here to say that, for me at least, some of the films that I think worked in the last handful of years are the ones that broke the rules, that aren't predictable, that are original. I want to talk about Heretic. I want to talk about Strange Darling. I want to talk about Barbarian. I want to talk about people who are taking big swings, and we can all argue about how effective it is. But the truth is, like, even Companion most recently, right? Also the follow-up to Barbarian. There are filmmakers out there that are doing their own thing. Sometimes Neon and A24 give them cover. And at least it's interesting. I would rather see an interesting failure than like, oh, is this another Disney live action version of a cartoon? Okay.
Yeah.
That's less interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, all I'm saying is, if you can't market whatever I'm giving to you, then you are in the wrong business. Like, if you can't market anything, then you shouldn't be in marketing.
And I think that's fair. And it also is a special gift to be able to market especially as we live in niche TikTok craziness. And I think, and just for those listening to the podcast, Jeff Luce puts up a good point. He saw Mickey 17 this weekend. He said it's a totally fun movie for him. 10, 15 years ago, he thinks it would have made like tons of money. Instead, it's not even coming close to its budget before marketing. And he's right. They made it for too high a number given on, again, the reason the Warner Brothers got into business was the director, he won the Oscar for Parasite. So now he gets a big studio follow-up, but did he really need that kind of money to do it? Because if he'd made it for less, he'd be profitable. And the goal is to keep being able to work. So I think it's like trying to get a budget that, look, as a producer, I always want more money because I want to give everyone what they want. But the truth is, it's like, if I'm making Sophie's Choice, I better figure out how to do that for not a lot right now. If I'm making like an action film, then I have to look at who's my cast, and can I get people out of the theater, or am I best to be on streaming? And right now that's in flux because we're not really sure what's theatrical versus streaming, because
and you can't know because the streamers won't tell you.
That's another issue, of course. Yes.
Yeah, it's just there's no measure for what makes money and what doesn't anymore. So artistically, Apple
poker players, people. That's what we are.
Hey, let's do this. Be bad or be best.
Let's do it.
Skelton, we're going to present to you titles of films, and we want you to judge whether they're so bad nobody should see them,
correct,
or they're so bad it's awesome and everybody should see it.
Okay,
which would be a be bad.
Are these made up titles or are these real
movies?
No, these are real films. Okay. Real films. Tracy, you want to go first?
I will. In the spirit of, please everyone go see Audrey's Children opening this week, this Friday, 3/28. To check Regal and AMC. That's all we could do. Anywhere near you, we only have 300 theaters. I really want to give some love to a film that I'm just going to start. I'm going to violate the rules. I think it's Be Best. And this is not a boost, but
you're prejudging. You can't prejudge.
I am going to prejudge because I'm a white bitch in America. You know what I'm saying? So, like, here's the thing, though. I really want people to support things in the theater. So after you see Audrey's Children, if you haven't, I want you to see this. But I don't know if the gents have seen it yet. I'm curious what they think. If you haven't seen it, why you haven't. If you plan to see it. But Be Bad, Be Best. Guest goes first. Skeleton. This would be the current Steven Soderbergh film Black Bag with the great Cate Blanchett, Michael Fassbender, the hot guy from Bridgerton that gave us all the ethos, Jean Regé, Gazingadet, whatever, and Pierce Brosnan, who's really rocking a silver fox. We don't have to hire George Clooney anymore. You can just go right to Pierce Brosnan. That's a little editorial.
Brosnan greater than Clooney.
100%. Black Bag. Have you seen it? Be Bad, Be Best.
I haven't. I do want to see it though. That's definitely a Be Best. I think Okay. Soderbergh, will flip a coin whether I'm going to like it or not like it.
Right.
Right.
Fair.
So, but this seems to be kind of feels like it's in more of the wheelhouse of what I like about Soderbergh. So yeah, that's definitely on my list. Did that just release, or is that releasing?
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks into theatrical.
Oh, okay.
Second weekend, and it opened to number 2 at like 7, 8, and then this weekend it's gone down. But I'm hoping enough people will see it, because I think this would have been a word of mouth movie previously.
Yeah.
You about Soderbergh. Ironically 2 days before I saw Black Bag in the theater, I had seen he has another film that's, where did I stream it? I want to say maybe it was in the VOD space, called Presence. Lucy Liu being the big name.
Yeah, the ghost.
That's his ghost movie.
The ghost movie where he's the camera operator as well as directing, and the whole gimmick of that movie is that he's from the point of view of the ghost. I don't think it works at all. So that would be an example of, I think that's a failed film, but I think this one's a winner.
Yeah.
But also that one's done for $1. This one is like a real movie that with a budget and the big movie stars. So to your point, I agree with you. Todd, have you had a chance to see this one yet, Black Bag?
I've not seen Black Bag, but I have seen Presence. I saw Presence in the theater. I saw Cammy.
God bless you.
I saw Cammy as soon as it came out on Netflix. I'm like weirdly a Soderbergh guy. Like his early movies were very affecting for me. Sex, Lies, and Videotape and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
This movie, I have so many reservations about spending the time on it because
really?
his last two, like, and I'm 100% behind Steven Soderbergh being like, I'm only making 90-minute movies now.
Mm.
And
Well, that
because of
alone
budget
is like Jeff
and
says,
because
90 minutes. If it's 90 minutes, that's
if
all I
it's
need to
more
hear.
than 90 minutes, it's a waste of time. And I agree with him on that. The problem is the two movies leading up to this that were 90 minutes around that, I thought sucked. Cammy, I think, is terrible. It's just a dull movie. Presence is the same movie as Ghost Story, but without Casey Affleck in a dumb sheet.
This is like his movie for those two more indie. So it's like
okay. I mean, like, okay, I accept that.
Go see
But
it
I'm
after
also like, are you
Look, if you gotta
sure
cleanse
you
the
want
palate,
to sell
then
me on this?
when
Are
you
you
watch a
sure
band,
you want to sell me
Soderbergh,
on this?
just cleanse the
Because-
palate and watch the Limey, and then you're fine.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I get that. I'll watch the Limey again. I do. All I'm saying is, really, is this the one I should put my faith and hope into, and it will actually change my opinion of current Soderbergh movies?
This is the best Soderbergh film I've seen in many a moon. I always find him interesting even when he fails. I loved this film. It's smart. You have to pay attention. It's and honestly, Fassbender is so easy to watch, and Kate does some cool shit in this movie. And there's and I should have looked up her name, and I apologize, but there's a woman who plays the analyst in this film. Jeff Luce, help me out. What's her name? The brunette who almost steals every scene she's in from the movie stars. This lady, much like Monica Barbaro, who got supporting actress nom for A Complete Unknown playing Joan Baez. These might be the two most exciting young actresses. And again, in a better Hollywood, they'd be paired together in something wonderful. But I will be told by foreign salespeople they don't mean anything. And then we get somebody who can't act and they do. And then this is how mediocrity happens. I mean, that's a hypothetical, but I'm sure it would happen. But this woman in this movie, I'm like, you're special. This is one that we're talking about with Marilyn Monroe and All About Eve. Like, who's Miss Caswell? That's a star. There's a lady in this movie too that is absolutely that. Oh yes, thank you, thank God for Jeff Luce. Marissa Abella, she's fantastic. So alone to see her, because in a better world, a smart producer would take her, put her in a lead role, stunt cast some guy people know, so we can get it made. But this lady's going to go somewhere. Mark me now, believe me later. Soderbergh and everybody in this gives like really good performances, and it's a clever riff on a spy movie that's almost a caper film, but it's about adults talking and being, and you're like trying to put it
but when you say it's about adults talking, that's when I check out. I don't want to watch adults talking.
It's about spycraft. John Le Carré is about adults talking. This is in that tradition. So if you like clever spy stuff, it's like, okay, like Soderbergh's playing. And also I want to do a sign. I saw it with Dana Guerin, a frequent guest on a host on this show as well. The soundtrack on this is so cool. Like it's just cool in that, like, I miss this.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. I just don't have a lot of faith, but I'll watch it. I'll watch it.
What's your movie? What's your movie?
Yeah, my movie. My movie is this. This is a straight to video movie.
On theme.
In the early 90s.
If you say Popeye the Slayer Man.
I'm not. I said a straight to video movie from the early 90s.
All right.
Not a movie that came out 2 days ago. And it's got Corey Feldman and Corey Haim.
Oh.
And it's called Busted. I have a VHS copy.
The movie for 15-year-old boys everywhere. Wait, what was it? Put the picture back up. What was the
Yeah,
tagline?
sure.
The streets are quiet, but the police station is a riot.
It rhymes. It rhymes, so it must be
Oh,
good.
I
Be
have
bad or be
never
best,
I have
Tracy.
never seen this. Like, I can't in good conscience say be best, but I do want to see it.
Oh my god, that is the best answer ever.
Like,
Shocking.
you can tell exactly like how
Yeah.
poorly aged that movie's gonna be by
Oh,
just looking
it's
at
like-
at the box cover.
Yeah.
It was poorly aged when it came out. It was
It's gonna
like
be like
early
Revenge
90s,
of the
and
Nerds level
we
poor
were
aging.
already done with Police
Right.
Academy.
Who,
We
who,
were
are,
done with it.
who are the two blonde ladies that look like they stole Rebecca De Mornay's look? Who are they?
I don't know.
Right.
Um,
They're only on the poster. Why should they be mentioned?
but they are probably very good in this movie.
I mean, they look like anyone who has a midriff, I'm jealous of. I would have to say this is gonna have to be bad for me because it just looks like it'd be bad for me.
Oh yeah, I agree, Tracy.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think we'll find like any like the hidden gem of a scene that
No.
you know it's just gonna
Really?
it's just gonna be intolerable.
You're not feeling that?
it's so bad. I mean, all right, then we get into the conundrum of like if it's so bad, it's just offensive, like for 90 minutes.
At least
Isn't that also great? Isn't that great?
dude, it's better than a 4-hour film about someone nuking Japan without a Japanese extra in sight. Sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm positive I would like Busted better than The Electric State.
Oh my god.
But
It's the big rent free in your head, Skeleton.
yeah,
I love. You're like,
I'm
I'm
pretty
watching
confident,
right now.
because at least you can watch something like this and get some entertainment value about how badly it's aged.
You know what?
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to co-sign what Skeleton just said because I have found myself lately because I am trying to be better about watching so much news, and I am finding a lot of love in nostalgic reviews. Sometimes I see like a still from a movie, and even if it's like Ghostbusters 2, I'm like, oh, that was terrible, but I miss it. You know what I mean? So like it's nostalgia, but it's also like it keeps me from watching the news and being quite so depressed. So, but it is also like there was, and this is turned into a Gen X podcast. Let's just call it what it is. But it's like there was a moment where, and I think this goes back to both of you have said various versions of this, but just putting it all together, where it's like when we weren't spending that much money, when we were giving people abilities to be paid for their work and learn and get better, and whether they had no money or some money, and it's stupid or it's so bad it's fun, and there was a joyfulness to filmmaking, even if the film itself wasn't perfect. And that's what this whole show is about, right? It's like, oh man, I like this and this, and that's really, but that was really silly. That's okay. I would much prefer that to like, I am bored seeing like Presence is really boring. Like I've had to force myself to finish it. And that too, I think was 90 minutes. I'm like, it should not be this hard.
Yeah.
Do this film because I love haunted house movies. I love horror films. And I'm like, I like this filmmaker, but I'm like, this is not good. And it bums me out because and I'm glad that he can still make whatever he wants. So I'm with you, Skeleton. Like he's hit or miss, but when he hits, I love it. Black bag.
Yeah, that's why I forgive the misses with the Soderbergh.
Yeah, at least
when he hits, he's good.
Yeah, because he doesn't have to do anything. I mean, remember when he said he was retiring 15 years ago? So he makes 2 or 3 films a year.
He says he's retiring every year, and he should.
I think
he should.
After Black Bag, he shouldn't. Saying, okay, Todd, what's your next movie?
All right, we're gonna do When Bad Films Happen to Good Actors.
Okay.
Skeleton, basically we're gonna say titles of movies that happen to actors that we really like, and it shouldn't have happened to them
because they're just shitty films with like the world's best cast.
Bad movies. Like, how could you do this? How could you do this to these people? And my selection is weird because
always
it's their thing. It was their thing. and they went up against studio executives of all kinds, and
Is
all
this
they
going to be
could come up with
Battlefield
was,
Earth, John Travolta?
Oh God.
Run,
Oh,
Ronnie,
God.
Run.
Oh, dear God. Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you're willing to sit through the 90 minutes, has an amazing sequence with Mandy Patinkin.
Yes.
Who's naked and is like Mandy Patinkin is a very divisive person, but he's hilarious in this one scene. In this, yeah. I have history with Mandy Patinkin, in weird ways, but
He made him go
he's
see all those
hilarious
Soderbergh
in this
movies he doesn't
movie.
like.
Yeah. But Run, Ronnie, Run is outside of Mandy Patinkin unfunny all the time.
It's alarmingly unfunny.
Wow.
It's
Like
bizarre.
given the pedigree of Mr. Show, because I remember being like, yes, let's do this movie, and then just being like, wait, what happened?
Yeah,
is this some kind of like meta thing where the
yeah.
joke is on me?
That's how I felt about. I felt that way about Poor Things. I don't know if that.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
no,
okay, yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But Run, Ronnie, Run also is a straight to video movie. And you would think with a straight to video comedy, R-rated comedy, that you could do whatever, and they don't do anything with it. It's bizarre. It's like the way the studio, and they say it's the studio, like, shut them off. And I believe them, but at the same time, it's like, how do you make something that unfunny? It's really weird.
Wow.
It's the Metal Machine music of the Mr. Show catalog.
God, I want that T-shirt. Yeah. I have to say, I remember. What's weird is I remember. I feel like I saw this. There was like a cable trailer, and I remember watching this, thinking, "What the hell?" Like, it didn't see it, but I was like, it's like when because I remember Patinkin being in it. It's like, what was the one that De Niro did that was like the beginning of like, oh, he's just doing this for money. It was like Grumpy Grandpa or whatever the hell it was.
Oh yeah, Bad Grandpa.
Bad Grandpa.
That's at least.
Yeah, but I was like, dude, I thought you sold out with that Eddie Murphy movie, but this is like a whole new level of like
Showtime.
Yeah, Showtime. Jesus Christ. So, but it was like that. But you're like, this is like you once upon a time were like Vito Corleone, and you're running around the rooftops of New York, and now you're in Bad Grandpa. I'm like, okay, so like it's a different thing. I don't decry anybody a big paycheck because that would be really nice right now, but. When you see people like that, because my experience, I don't have a personal story with Mandy Patinkin, but I remember one of my vivid childhood memories, Mom scrimped and saved and took me to go see Evita when it hit Los Angeles. And I think I was 6 or 7, and it was like Patti LuPone and Mandy Patinkin. And I just like, I don't like musicals typically, but that one, I think the story was so I didn't claim to know the geopolitics, but I really cared from a character standpoint about it. And so I kind of endured the music. Endured is not fair because I understand, but I don't like. But I remember like being so blown away by Mandy Patinkin as a kid. Like, I'm like, who is that? And then when he showed up in, I was also maybe 5 or 6 years later, under all that makeup. And Gail Ann Hurd produced Alien Nation, Graham Baker directing.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit, that was the
San
guy
Francisco.
from Evita. Yeah. And I was just like, this guy. And then I see, like, he's given these great performances. I've heard stories, we all have, but like, there's an integrity to his acting thing. And I don't know, like, he's one of those actors where, like De Niro used to be sometimes, like, I just knew no matter what he was in, he would probably be really good. And it's like Gene Hackman. I'm sorry that he's not with us. I'm sorry he went out on Welcome to Mooseport, but like, he didn't phone in Welcome to Mooseport. Like, he's still, you know what I mean?
Welcome to Mooseport is not a bad movie.
Well,
ultimately.
compare it to Aquaman 2 for sure.
I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's not a bad movie.
Yeah, no, I mean that's like Silkwood. There's an
It's
acceptable
no,
amount of
it's no
radiation.
busted.
It's no busted. It's true. Oh, John at the Schubert. Yes, it was. Yes, Sean. Absolutely, we were there. Don't cry. Remember that if you lived in LA, those commercials were on all the time. So I knew who Patti LuPone was. So by the time she shows up in Witness and Harrison Ford hides Lucas Haas with her, he's like, "This is my sister. She'll take care of you." I was like, "That's Avita. I saw her live." Like, it was, it's like this is Gen X. Yeah. All right. What are we doing now, Todd? What's the next thing?
When bad films happen to good actors.
Oh, I think I have a good one for this.
Do you have one? Okay.
I have one. I have many thoughts about it.
Right.
This leads into my I don't like musicals. You know what's worse than a bad musical? A sequel to
A good
bad,
musical.
Oh
a
boy.
sequel to a bad
Oh
musical.
boy.
Hi, y'all.
Oh
Christine
boy.
Baranski,
Yeah,
Pierce
fuck
Brosnan,
off.
Dominic
You can't.
Colin Firth, Andy Garcia, Lily James, Amanda Seyfried, Stellan Skarsgård, y'all, Julie Walters, Cher. How do you fuck up Cher in a musical? And Meryl Streep slumming it in maybe one of the worst films ever. All of those people are so amazingly talented and great. And I was like, how together this like a Venn diagram? Something should have been good. It's like,
But in the 70s, this would have been a disaster movie. But
terrible.
we don't get those
Yeah, it would have
anymore.
been a Poseidon adventure.
Todd, I'm here to tell you this was a disaster film.
You know what? No, but they all did that. Like it's that kind of movie. It's so clear. It's like, oh, wait, what are the locations we're going to be shooting at? Yeah, I'll do that movie.
Yeah. And again, that's the Oceans 12, 13, 14, 17, whatever, right? Oh, look, we're at Lake Como. We can all sleep at Clooney's place.
Yeah.
Sleepover. Warner Brothers, $200 million later. But good for them. But I'm like, come on, Mamma Mia 2, here we go again. Even the title is like an apology.
Yeah, even the title's like, oh, God.
Here we go again. I was like, really? It's not since the Phantom Menace we haven't done. Oh, it's not a real menace? The Phantom Menace? Cool. I got that threat. Like, it's like, what are you talking about?
We could add Phantom Menace for what it did to Liam Neeson.
I know. I'm so glad he found himself again with Taken.
Yeah, Neeson saved himself with.
He did
Taken.
because he's one of our best actors, and then he made it. Now he's like the male menopausal action guy that we all need. Ice truckers. No. Good.
Oh, that was good, except PG-13. If it had been R, awesome.
Yeah, that needed some more violence to really put it over the top.
It really did.
All right. So we're going to end on a positive note because 2025 demands we find something positive.
Yeah, we have to.
Well, then don't let Todd talk about Soderbergh.
Oh.
Hey, Soderbergh really like
that bag will
informed my growing upness. He did. And that's the only reason I hold him to a high pedigree, because he mattered to me when I was a kid.
Fair. I agree with you. I think there's misses and there's hits. I think his misses, at least he's trying, which is more than I can say for some.
I just think his misses and his hits in the last 2 decades are negligible on both ends. I just think he's more schizopolis than he is.
I'm just saying it's an apology if it's the title. Here we go again. It's not a good thing, my lovely wife. I just, and it was bad. Yeah.
Kimberly's right. I'm not gonna.
Kimberly's always right. I didn't know it was that. I just think it's a poor choice for a lyric. I mean, I could also say like, Rosebud's a Sled as a title, and that's a wrong idea,
True. All right, here we are. We're boosting things. What are you boosting?
I am going to flip the script. I was so deeply moved. I watched all 4 episodes last weekend, actually with Kimberly, and it's.
Oh, you're taking the boost to TV?
I am, because it's filmmaking on a level that I wish were more in cinemas until Audrey's Children comes out this Friday in 300 screens. This is, I want to talk about adolescence. Stephen Graham, who's a really good actor and apparently an amazing writer and creator, he read a couple stories that happened in the UK about these young men, toxic, I hate to say masculinity because they're boys, really, incel shit, 13, 14, stabbing girls alive because, they laugh at them because obviously that's requires being slashed. And so he wanted to examine like what is happening with this culture and what are we losing kids, men and women, girls and boys, to screens? What does it look like in cell culture? And what could be a gimmick? Each one of the 4 episodes is all done in one take. And so the logistics from a production standpoint of getting your sound and going in and out of cars and in and out of buildings, like from a producer level, like, but it's like a play, but it allows actors to really own the scenes. And what should be a gimmick in that work, and this is where I want to pivot back to Soderbergh's Presence, which Todd and I have agreed sucks. That doesn't work, and it should. It's an hour and a half, and you're from a ghost point of view, and I don't like it. This device, as a one take, drops the viewer into, I think I would say, the silos of culture that may be harming our young men, specifically media, schools, teachers, parents, siblings, members of the opposite sex, all this stuff, and online. And so you are following this through. And so you're almost a complicit member of every scene. And somehow that gimmick for me completely worked and doesn't seem like a gimmick. It seems like the best way to directorially and producerially show this story, adolescence. And it's chilling. And the young boy in this, he will win all of the awards. He is chilling and really plays the kind of monster, and a project that I still hope to get off the ground with the great Mark Perry, show running. We had talked about a project we were developing together, and he threw an interesting question out. I said, well, that's the theme, right? It's like, what makes humans monsters and what makes monsters human? And if you like universal horror films of yesteryear, it's relevant. If you like smart dramas, I would argue, like Adolescence, it gives you a lot to think about. Why is the young boy in this household able to slash a young 13-year-old girl alive? And why is his sister so well adjusted, having to give her own parents some life lessons in the end, when those kids grew up in the same house with the same parents in the same community? And it really challenges us with, I think, toxicity that is global about what's going on with our young boys and then men if they survive their childhoods. And I just haven't seen anything quite like it. The level of writing is better than anything I saw winning an Oscar this year. And I just wanted to boost it because I think most people have Netflix, or a lot of people have access.
What? You didn't like Anora? You don't like Anora?
Yeah, I'm going to revisit that a lot. No, but like this one is like, and I like Anora. I don't want to be flip. It's great, but like I don't need to see it again.
It's not great. It's okay to say Anora is not great.
It's fine.
It's a good exploitation movie.
It's Pretty Woman and All the Darkness. This one is a work of art, and I don't say that a lot. This is a work of art. Adolescence, you might hate it. It might make you uncomfortable. It should make you uncomfortable, but I think it elevates a television. And when a medium can be challenged, particularly by a group like Netflix that gives the Russo brothers $250 million, that I mentioned that earlier, I want to applaud the good stuff that they do. And this is truly, I think, transcendent. So I can't think of a better thing to boost this week, because I think it's one of the best things I've seen in a minute. So I just wanted to, if you haven't seen it, watch it. But be prepared. It's a hard watch,
Skelton, do you want to weigh in on this one?
Well, I haven't seen it, but I do want to watch it. But I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. It's hard to weigh in if you haven't seen it. All right, here's my boost. My boost is a straight-to-video movie from the early 90s. It stars a guy named Doug Bradley.
He has 2 first names. That's amazing.
This movie is called Hard Justice. I'm sorry, not Doug. David Bradley.
Yeah, isn't Doug Bradley Pinhead?
This movie is great because at one point, David right? David? Yeah, David Bradley runs across the hoods of a bunch of cars, and they're all parked like next to each other, but facing different directions. And in the scene, he runs across the hoods of the cars. And as he's running across the hoods of the cars explode like this. And he runs, and all the cars are blowing up one way and the other as he's going by. And that, to me, is what great B-movie making is.
Yeah, I get you.
And we don't do that anymore. We don't blow shit up while an actor is running across the hoods of cars because it's too expensive legally. And
Yeah, you probably can't get that insured anymore.
you
too.
can't get that insured. But these things exist. And honestly, this obviously comes in a triple feature.
I gotta
with-
know, like, what it's a triple feature, like
It's
on a
New
single
Line.
DVD, so high quality bit rate.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
got two David Bradley movies.
Outside the
this
Law,
and
which
Outside
sounds
the
like a
Law.
rejected Steven Seagal movie.
But
Yeah.
but it's New Line because I can see their logo back when we had logos that mattered. David Bradley, because I remember they were trying. Remember my favorite like Jewish martial arts star Jeff Speakman.
Oh, Steven, yeah.
So Jeff Speakman and David Bradley were like they didn't quite ever make the big leagues, but they were like the Durham Bulls of goodness when it came to like a slapdash thing. I haven't seen this particular one, so I'll have to check it out. But I agree with what you're saying, like in terms of that kind of practical effects. Like I went on a deep dive. Well, I went on many deep dives during COVID, but one of the favorites that I hadn't revisited since like when they first came out was the Maniac Cop series.
Oh, Maniac Cop's
Yeah.
great.
But Maniac Cop 2 is actually, I think, kind of great. I think it's
Maniac Cop 3 is a worthy follow. I mean, this is Robert
Yeah.
Dobby's legacy. This
But
is his
Maniac
legacy.
Cop 2 has the balls to kind of kill off like a lead from the first film and the first five. Like it does a lot. I don't want to give anything away, but it does cool shit. But part of what you're saying about this film, what I like about the Maniac Cop series, is that they're doing the same thing. It's like I think it's Savini doing the effects, but it's like it's practical, it's great effects, it's practical stunts, and it looks like illegal stuff. I miss this so hard because, and this is I taught, and I love this because you were so much better about being on theme with this last segment than I am, but this is actually a perfect genre to point out given the film we spoke about tonight. Because it is kind of a love letter, I mean, that Skelton brought us to a silo of films that just will never be made again. It was a different time. Things are different. But if you're a Gen Xer, you know what we're talking about. These films are still out there. You can, stream them now. And how cool that we got to just have fun and not take things so seriously. Not everything has to be like,
Yeah, it can be stupid. We can be
popcorn.
stupid.
Popcorn. That's what's cool
The
about
third movie on this DVD triple feature, it's two David Bradley movies, Hard Justice and Outside the Law. And then the third one is Quiet Cool, which I don't know if you guys remember that.
The titles on this feel like I'm doing ad libs.
Quiet Cool is a movie about illegal pot distribution with
Which is now how many states?
yeah. It's the guy who played Dexter's dad in the series Dexter. Do you know?
Oh
who
yeah,
I'm talking
I was
about?
thinking, and I was thinking Medium Cool. I was thinking a completely different movie.
Well, that's Haskell.
Medium Cool is different. No, this is Quiet Cool. Quiet Cool is a great B movie.
Remar, it's James Remar.
But yes, James Remar. Yes, it's a great B movie. It's awesome. but it comes in this triple pack with these Bradley movies, which is the reason why you bought that triple pack is Quiet Cool. You're like, oh, I want to watch Quiet Cool.
And this is the only, I can't just get Quiet Cool. I have to get these other
Yeah,
movies.
I have to get all this garbage.
Oh my God.
However,
remember when like all of a sudden U2 is like, here's a free album in your Apples thing, everyone lost their mind. Remember how cute Democracy was? We're like, we're outraged. I got a free album from U2.
Yeah.
You. And you're like, really? That was an anger thing for you? You could delete the album or never.
That's the most important thing I have to be angry about.
I have to be angry. I got a free album from one of the biggest rock bands ever.
Damn you, Bono.
God, Bono, what are you doing trying to save the world?
I mean, it's weird to have something forced on you. Which that was.
That was like, I can't even, like, we're now through the looking glass.
I don't like U2, so it's like, I don't like the Eagles.
Todd took it as
if I got a sudden new Eagles album, I'd be like, what the fuck, man? It's just taking up space.
You know what's so great? I got a free album and I listened to it a couple times. I went, not their best, and I moved on. I didn't feel like angry, you know.
No. But it's the difference between you have the access to a free album and then the free album is just downloaded onto your shit.
I have access to my body in all 50 states. A lot has changed since that happened. So, you know.
No, a lot has, and a lot has not.
Look, Todd, Bono has admitted it was a bit of a mistake. It should have been more of a coupon, so you had the so I can take it. So he's owned up. He's owned up to it.
Well, thank God he has, because you know I was worried about it.
Thank God. At least someone from Ireland who's owned up to what a piece of shit he is.
Well, there's a lot of troubles. What? So amazing. Skeleton, thank you for coming back. It's been way too long. You do this.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, no, thank you for having me.
And also, this doesn't happen a lot, but you know, Todd and I've been doing this for over 200 episodes. I think 200. This is our 203rd. What? It's still super rare for a guest to bring something that neither one of us has not only not seen but not heard of. So I love it when that happens. It's so great because then Todd and I both get to be like, "Oh my God, there's a new thing for us," and so I love that.
And how great! I mean, I don't know how it was for you, Tracy, but when I first watched this movie, I was like, "This is great. This is the best thing I've seen."
Yeah, but you were also like high on gummies.
Oh,
yeah. No, that's neither here nor there.
No connection.
It's just accurate.
No, I was wouldn't get out of the trees. No, it's totally not.
I got high and I watched it.
I have to say, I was joking with Kim where I was texting and I was like, this might be actually the worst film we've ever done on the show. Like it's truly like it might be on that level.
Oh, it's not the worst movie we've done on the show. That's the weird thing.
I think it's because when I say that, which is why we're doing this show, like it's like I kind of love like it's such a mess with so many people that I kind of like in it. And I from a producer level see what they're trying to do with like nothing. And that I was completely entertained, unlike Presence. And I was never bored. And I was like, holy crap, this is super fun. And again, right now, I just want super fun. I don't need instant brilliance. If you can bring that, that's called adolescence, and I will boost you. But for the most part right now, I just want to not watch the news. I want to have a lot of fun. And it's nice when you recognize actors who are really talented, even if they're slumming in something like this, it doesn't matter because they're not sleepwalking through it. Everybody in this is committed across the board. And there's nothing better than that. And we should get back to that. I mean, again, I go back to Mamma Mia too. Even Meryl Streep sucks in this film. Meryl sucks, people. I've said it out loud. Mamma Mia 2, not her good moment. But I can't say that about anybody in the film we talked about tonight. Fight me. Anyway, so that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. That's a really good point. Yeah. All right. Is there anything, Tracy, I know if people hear this after this week, this won't matter, but you're having a book signing this Saturday?
am this Saturday at 2 p.m. if you happen to be in Los Angeles at the Philosophical Research Society, which is on Griffith Park Boulevard, or it's like Los Feliz. It's right down, like up the hill rather, from Tam O'Shanter. At 2 o'clock, we're gonna do a book signing for Cinema Bizarro. I'll be on a panel with like amazing dudes that are actual real historians, and I'm just gonna be like, I love this too. And then we're gonna screen a movie. What was it called? Signal from Space, which is a 1956 Japanese film. It was
Oh
the
yeah.
full color Japanese science fiction film. And apparently Kubrick was so like blown away by this film, he used that, and it really influenced his visual style for 2001, allegedly. And the screenwriter of said Japanese show wrote Kurosawa's The Magnificent Seven. So there's some serious bona fides film nerd stuff to this 56 Japanese film, which is not screened very much. And the fellas who are hosting this, the great Stephen Peros, who's also been on the show, and we've talked about the Swarm with him, and the Heretic 2 Exorcist. He's hosting the panel, and he's the editor of our book, and invited me to contribute 5 chapters. Totally honored. I'm in really good company. And yeah, if you're in LA, come out and play. It'll be a fun movie, and then we'll get probably some cocktails down the street at the Tam O'Shanter after. So yeah. And Audrey's Children, I have to say it again, 328. We're not playing in a lot of places. We're not playing at ideal times. It's really good. And I will say I don't always promote things that are at companies that I work for. I am really excited about this film. This is a very good film that deserved a studio release. And so I hope we can do well enough and that you guys can find us. It's a good piece of work, and I'm really proud of my company for making it.
I can't wait to see it myself. Skelton, is there anything you want to plug to the people before we sign off?
Yeah, no, I'm very pleased to announce that I got a new carpet cleaner, and this week I will be cleaning my apartment.
Oh my God, Jelly. Can I get that number? My wife would love it if I could get that number.
I'm cleaning my own house this week. I'm very excited. But if I'm going to plug anything,
Look, Happy
get
Valley.
my book, Murder Valley. Just get it. Just buy it. It's on Amazon. It's the only way to get it is on Amazon, because self-publishing is very easy on Amazon. So I understand if you hate Jeff Bezos, but know that if you buy the book, I'll get $1. So if I sell 1 million copies of this book, Murder Valley, I'll be a millionaire. So it's your choice. Should I be a millionaire or not?
I like it.
I
mean, I'm all for new business models. I am. Thank you, Skil.
Thank you very much,
you.
Steve. I can't thank you enough just for bringing this movie to my attention. I loved it. It's a great picture, and I hope everybody watches Edge of Honor, because if you don't, you're
the way it was meant
not
to
on
be
the
watched
Edge of
in a
Honor.
low bit rate upload to YouTube.
Yes, correct. Do the thing.
Yeah. Peace out, everybody.
Have a good week.